I've spent the last few weeks speaking with farmers in Penrith and Solway, trying to understand the full impact of the inheritance tax proposals. And, let me be clear, if today was the real vote, I would vote against the government's plans. On this basis, I reassured farmers in my constituency that we would not. Now, I simply am not prepared to break my word.
Jeremy Clarkson and thousands of farmers took to London streets to protest Labour's inheritance tax proposal. Why? Because this policy threatens to destroy British farming as we know it. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. With more farms in his constituency than any other Labour MP, Marcus Campbell-Savers faces an impossible choice: toe the party line or fight for his constituents' livelihoods.
I'm no rebel. I'm a moderate. But during the election, I read what I thought were assurances from my party that we had no plans to introduce changes to APR.
This measure will have a devastating effect on farms and the farming industry in his constituency if it goes through as currently set out.
I'm told that there is no Labour MP in the country with as many farms as I do in Penrith and Solway, and I hope my colleagues will understand my feelings on this.
This video exposes the real-world consequences of Starmer's policies and the growing rebellion within Labour's ranks. Labour's landslide victory in 2022 seemed like the dawn of a new era in British politics. Keir Starmer, riding a wave of public optimism, promised a fresh start for the party and the country. He vowed to restore integrity to government, root out corruption, and lead with transparency. But fast forward to today, and the Labour Party finds itself mired in controversy and internal strife. The cracks began to show when allegations of cronyism surfaced. Starmer, who had positioned himself as the antithesis of Boris Johnson's scandal-plagued administration, now faced accusations of favouritism in appointments and policy decisions. The appointment of Sue Gray, a former senior civil servant, to a key Labour role raised eyebrows across the political spectrum. Critics argued this move blurred the lines between civil service impartiality and party politics. Public trust in Labour has eroded further due to a series of controversial policy decisions. The inheritance tax proposal, which threatens the livelihoods of farmers and small business owners, has sparked widespread protests. Labour MPs from rural constituencies find themselves caught between party loyalty and the interests of their constituents. This policy misstep has not only alienated a significant voter base, but has also exposed the disconnect between Labour's leadership and the realities faced by many Britons.
High inflation, low growth, low reform. There's a word for that, Mr. Speaker. It's Starmerism.
We've committed £5 billion to the farming budget over the next 2 years. That's the largest ever amount for sustainable food production in the UK.
Elderly men in tears, children worried about their parents, all of them worried that their way of life is about to be destroyed.
Financial controversies have also plagued Starmer's leadership. Questions about party funding and expenditure have led to increased scrutiny from both the media and regulatory bodies. These issues, combined with Starmer's perceived inability to effectively challenge the government on key issues, have left many Labour supporters disillusioned. As the pressure mounts, cracks within the party are becoming more visible. MPs like Rosie Duffield have begun to voice their concerns publicly, hinting at deeper internal conflicts. Duffield's motivations for speaking out seem rooted in a genuine concern for the party's direction and a belief that Labour is straying from its core values. The contents of Duffield's resignation letter, when revealed, sent shockwaves through Westminster. She accused the party leadership of stifling debate, ignoring the concerns of ordinary members, and prioritising political expediency over principled decision-making.
Their new liability because of this government is £500,000. That's 12 years' worth of profit. When this generation passes away, that farm will become totally unviable, and it's just one of thousands and thousands of similar farms.
Over £200 million to tackle disease outbreaks. His party couldn't even get the money out the door for farmers, failing to spend over £300 million on farming budgets.
Will the Right Honourable Lady at least commit that there will be no further increases to inheritance tax and no further reductions to agricultural property relief or business property relief in this Parliament.
Her scathing critique highlighted the growing disconnect between Labour's grassroots and its upper echelons. As we delve deeper into Labour's internal conflicts, it's clear that Starmer's leadership faces significant challenges. The party that once promised a new dawn for British politics now finds itself grappling with familiar demons of infighting, policy confusion, and eroding public trust. The question remains, can Labour rebuild its credibility, or is this the beginning of a longer-term crisis for the party? While Starmer grapples with eroding public trust, a storm is brewing behind closed doors. Labour MP Brian Leishman's scathing critique of his own party leader has exposed a deep rift that threatens to tear the party apart. Leishman's accusation that Starmer has abandoned workers and failed to deliver on campaign promises is just the tip of the iceberg. His statement that Starmer's claims of standing with workers simply doesn't stack up reveals a growing disconnect between Labour's leadership and its traditional base. Starmer's leadership style has come under fire for being overly centralised and dismissive of dissenting voices within the party. Critics argue that his decision-making process lacks transparency and consultation, leading to policies that seem out of touch with both Labour's roots and the needs of the British public. The inheritance tax proposal, for instance, has not only alienated rural constituents, but has also raised questions about Labour's commitment to its core values. The appointment of Sue Gray as Chief of Staff has become a lightning rod for controversy, further exacerbating internal tensions. Reports of her salary being higher than her predecessors have fueled accusations of cronyism within Starmer's administration. The backlash against her appointment has been severe, with many questioning the transparency of the hiring process and its implications for Labour's credibility. These internal conflicts and management issues have led to a perception of dysfunction at the heart of the government. One Whitehall official's damning assessment that there's no message discipline, there's no grid discipline, there's no grip in Number 10 paints a picture of a party in disarray. This lack of coherence raises serious concerns about Labour's ability to effectively govern and maintain public trust. The long-term consequences for Labour could be severe. Experts warn that the flurry of ethical controversies surrounding Starmer's administration could significantly damage his credibility. Alex Thomas from the Institute for Government has noted that Starmer clearly does need to get a grip on some of the briefing to restore public confidence. The lack of a clear domestic agenda has left many questioning the direction of the government and its ability to address the pressing issues facing the country. As these internal struggles play out in the public eye, Labour's credibility and voter trust continue to erode. The party that once promised a new era of integrity and transparency now finds itself mired in accusations of hypocrisy and mismanagement. The question remains, can Labour overcome these internal divisions and regain the trust of the British public, or will these cracks in the foundation lead to a collapse of Starmer's leadership and the party's electoral prospects? Labour faces a perfect storm of challenges that threaten to undermine Starmer's leadership and the party's credibility. Internal dissent, policy missteps, and accusations of hypocrisy have eroded public trust. The inheritance tax debacle and the controversial appointment of Sue Gray have exposed a disconnect between Labour's leadership and its core values. To right the ship, Labour must refocus on a clear, compelling domestic agenda that resonates with voters across the country. Rebuilding trust won't be easy, but it's not impossible. Labour could take a page from Tony Blair's playbook, crafting a coherent vision that addresses the concerns of both urban and rural constituents. They need to demonstrate transparency in decision-making and show a willingness to listen to dissenting voices within the party. Starmer must also address the accusations of cronyism head-on and prove that Labour can govern with integrity. The fragility of political mandates in modern Britain is stark. Labour's swift fall from grace serves as a cautionary tale for all parties. In an era of rapid information flow and heightened scrutiny, public opinion can shift dramatically. The electorate is increasingly volatile, demanding not just promises, tangible results. For Labour to survive this crisis and thrive, they must reconnect with their roots while adapting to the complex realities of 21st-century governance.